There we go. Okay, 3, 2, and 1. Well, Mary Katie, welcome back to Mayor's Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. We are just about through the summer. We are just about through the easy part of the year, right?
Is that the easy part?
The easy part, because you're not to the budgeting yet and everything like that.
Oh, we have been budgeting, sir. We have been working on that since June.
So we are just about done, but we've got plenty to talk about besides that, because it seems like these days there's a lot of opinions, a lot of things going on.
So many
here in Wausau, things like that. So we thought it'd be great to kind of take some time here, clear some things up. People can hear some things right from City Hall, because, well, that's why we do this and why we post these.
I feel like this is a pop quiz. I'm interested now. Let's see what we can do. Stir the pot.
Exactly. We post these unedited on the website, for that very reason and things like that. So first off, give us an idea on the, I guess it was formerly called the city's Community for All resolution, and now it is called We Are Wausau. Give us an idea of what this kind of has grown into and where this is going to be going.
Yeah, so as you know, Community for All kerfuffle has been going on since, at the county since last year sometime, but for us here maybe since May. And we talked about having a resolution on the city side supporting kind of those basic principles. But one of the main, the complaints was that the city didn't own the language in there. That was a county thing. This is what just happened. Are we still good?
Yeah, we're still good. Okay. We're still good. Don't
worry.
One
of the problems is the city alders didn't feel like they owned the language, so rewrote from scratch. Thought is Community for All? Is that confusing? Is that something we need to change? So just threw something in there. We Are Wausau, because it kind of felt like people wanted to rally and call something to say about themselves, and that's where we are. They discussed it this week. Well. Okay, it would be last week when you air this.
Right.
So they discussed it at the latest Economic Development Committee meeting, and they made a couple of changes. But basically, there it is. Passed 4-1. It'll go on to council for Tuesday.
So what you mentioned rewriting the language in there. What were some of the key things that you ended up rewriting?
Yeah, so some of it was folks felt that some of the data was not something they felt resonated with them. Some folks thought that, they didn't want to have any kind of negative connotations in there. They don't want to say what we're not. They don't want to have any reference to the New York Times article. Fine, took it out. So just kind of went through there. And I thought about what we really wanted to say and what we wanted to come out of this. So there you have it.
And then I know another thing that people, again, for better or worse, have been hung up on is the use of the word equity. There's a lot of people that feel that that's going to be opening doors to possibly dividing wealth, splitting up land. I think you and I were just talking a little bit. I really don't feel like my 0.14 acres are in jeopardy because of the word equity somewhere. Could you just give us an idea of where that, what that actually means, and that there's no hidden agenda there?
Yeah, so that was the other thing that I included was a definition that I thought we could agree on about what equity means. I realized that words matter, so we called it sustainable and just access to gaining entry to the American dream, right? And so I hope that clears up the misconceptions. Certainly, government doesn't want to get involved in dividing your wealth, and I certainly don't want to stand in between you and your cat at your house. It's all for you. So yeah, I don't think this opens up the door for that. But I realize that people are nervous and there are rumors and stuff. So this is just a positive statement about where we stand as Wausonians, and I hope that it's something that we can eventually rally around and realize that it's good. It's good. We welcome our neighbors. We want to be a positive place to live.
So then, when is this going to be taken up next, and what can people expect from here?
Yeah. So it passed through the Economic Development Committee, and it's going to council for the Tuesday meeting. So by the time this airs, if this is airing on a Monday, tomorrow.
All right, I'm sure people will be there to talk about it.
To say things.
Yes, indeed.
3 minutes each.
Exactly. Timed it out beforehand. So give us an idea then as far as the environmental justice resolution as well. I guess you could say that's kind of something that goes hand in hand with what we're talking about here, but it's still something that people have have certainly been fixating on lately.
Yeah, sure. So that is a resolution that Alder Killian has been deeply involved in. It's something he came into office wanting to do. It's something that's interesting to him. So he went through the committee process. A couple different committees have talked about it. We have our citizen-led committees, Liberation and Freedom, and Sustainability that have talked about it. We have Economic Development that's talked about it and passed it. And now it's going to council again on Tuesday. So I would say they're kind of related in that, they acknowledge that, there are barriers to success for folks, and some of those are structural. But other than that, I think it's more of a statement about, how we want to move forward. One of the things I like about it is we talk about how we want to engage with the public. And I think it's really important that we get feedback from constituents, residents, people who are affected. So I think doing more of that is great. And that's something folks at City Hall have also said, I like the idea of having more robust public engagement, especially at the front end of projects. Not everybody responds to, the letter you get if there's a rezone happening. Like, maybe you don't even know what it means. But if we went to your neighborhood and maybe there's a different language spoken at home, if we offer translation services, things like that, stuff that really makes it easier so you can form an opinion. I think that's good stuff. So, a lot of controversy about this particular resolution. There have been different interests that have kind of staked out their camps here. But I think we'll have a good discussion, and it's now up to the council.
Yeah, indeed, because I think when somebody says something like environmental justice resolution, it's maybe in their mind going to mean one group is going to get favorability over another for some sort of city project or something along those lines. But that to me, it just kind of seems like this is more about making sure that no matter where you are, you're informed about what's going on in the city.
Yeah, I would say that's the interpretation I take from it too. I recognize that, there are different groups that use terms in different ways, and that's why it's important that we define these things so that we and the public understand where we're from. The EPA has an Office of Environmental Justice, and I know that Alder Killian would tell you that was created by a Republican president. So, it's important to kind of think about the history here. And actually, there are a lot of manufacturing and other businesses that do take care to look at these environmental justice impacts of what they're doing, and so it's not foreign. And I think where kind of the conversation is headed is Wausau going to get in between, a business and the regulatory body of the DNR? Well, no, right? Like, that's not what we do. Mm-hmm. We're going to focus on what we do. We want to make sure that we're doing the city's business, and what we can do is help explain projects and make sure that people are fully understand what's going on around them. So this is, again, the body's going to have to decide. Mm-hmm. This is always my caveat. I'm one branch of government and they're another. But I think we'll have a good discussion.
Yeah, and again, that's coming up tomorrow at City Council.
Yep,
correct?
Tuesday's meeting.
So yeah, it seems like there's going to be it's probably going to be a packed house.
Yep.
There, would you
we'll
say?
also be streaming on YouTube.
Yes, indeed. I'm sure that's probably exactly how we'll be following along as well.
Get your popcorn
by the YouTube stream. Yes, indeed, with popcorn from the machine at work. Oh. So give us an idea then.
That's sad. I thought maybe you could watch it from bed or something.
Well, I don't have the home office set up quite yet, but. So one more thing then, before we let you go, talking about the proposal to resettle refugees here in Wausau. Now, again, this is not something that the city is involved in hands-on. They are not asking for any sort of money out of a tax increment district. They're not asking for city land for some sort of an office to resettle. This is basically something that the city is involved in because it's going to happen in the city.
Yeah.
There's no city involvement per se like that. So could you give us an idea then of just exactly, I know this is obviously something you support.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited about the concept. I think it's imperative that we welcome new people to Wausau, no matter where they're from. And obviously, when it comes to refugees, and specifically this program, these people are very well vetted. A lot of the refugees we're hearing about now, especially, are people that worked alongside the military, translators in Afghanistan and Iraq. So this is something that's really important, as we're withdrawing from Afghanistan and we're hearing really the desperate stories. And that's kind of what this is about. I think maybe I should step back here a little bit and kind of, how did this all start? What is going on here?
Yeah.
So there's a pastor in town who was leading some Lenten discussions, and, they kind of came to this conclusion, like, I would really love, we'd love to welcome refugees here. We have no idea, how do we do this? We know we've done this in the past, started in the 70s with our Hmong population here. And so they reached out to me and they said, we don't know how to do this. And I said, I have no idea how to do this either. So I helped them get in touch with some other folks. We have federal agencies and state agencies that are kind of federal agencies. So we talked to them, and it just so happened that this group, ECDC, which is kind of a misnomer, it's the Ethiopian Community Development Corporation or Council. And they started in the 80s as an Ethiopian refugee resettlement organization, but now they work with a couple different countries. And right now, the big populations are Iraqi refugees, Afghani refugees, refugees from Burma. So there are a couple other countries that work, Sudan. So we were talking, and they thought that, because generated by the interest here, like, maybe we should come check Wausau out. So, they came to Wausau, and they met with a couple different organizations. They met with the chamber, they met, with some foundations, they met, obviously, with these people who are interested in church, and I met with them too. And it's pretty exciting. They're kind of a self-contained thing. They would open an office and kind of help ferry people through this process. They've already gone through kind of the rigorous education stuff, learning about American culture. There's some language, there's some different things. I mean, I'm guessing, I haven't been to Afghanistan, but I'm guessing living in Wausau is a little bit different than living in Kandahar, but also different than living in the more rural areas there too. So there's a lot of education needs. So, there are a lot of people really excited about this. You look like you're ready to ask another question. I would love to answer it. Otherwise, I'll keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, I guess the question I wanted to ask is, again, the city's not necessarily involved in this, but there's still, again, a lot of people that've got strong feelings one way or another about this, because there are some, there are some refugees that have not been, that have committed crimes here in America and things like that. You hear stories like that, it could make you wonder what kind of people are going to be brought in here to Wausau. So I guess from the city's point of view, what resources are you going to be making available to people so that way we can kind of calm those waters?
Yeah, so I guess when we're talking about people who have committed crimes, you find that across the spectrum, with people who've lived here for a long time, people who haven't, newcomers, oldcomers, I don't know what you call that. But yeah, so I mean, that's something that we always want to make sure, like, we will make sure that people understand our ordinances of Wausau, that they understand American laws, things like that. When it comes to the city's participation, I asked around about how did the city participate in the past, and one of the interesting things, I talked to a former mayor, and he said, when the Hmong refugees were coming here, I found it very useful to allow, have office time with the Hmong elders, so we could talk about what are some of the barriers you're reaching, what do you need help with, what kind of communication needs to happen, do you understand some of the barriers you're running into. So that was an interesting concept, but really, the city will continue doing what the city does. We'll continue maintaining our infrastructure, making sure that we're making sound policy decisions for everybody. But it's not really anything new, other than maybe there's a language barrier, right? Maybe we need to make sure we're accessible to folks who speak a different language. And that's stuff we're thinking about right now anyway. We want to translate things to Spanish. We want to translate things to Hmong. Maybe we need to add on whatever the next language is.
I couldn't tell you exactly what they speak in Afghanistan.
Well, there's a couple different languages that are, it depends on which region you're from, so. But the fact that people, some of these groups are translators, is probably very helpful.
Yes.
And I know that I was talking to the pastor who's kind of been leading the charge, and she specifically thinks that that's the right kind of a group that should come here. The people that served alongside our military and can kind of help get resettled with their families. So, I'm excited about it. Now, for the community to get more information, I have really been pressuring this group. I was like, you need to come to Wausau and give kind of a community conversation. Sure. So they're planning that, which is really good. Stay tuned. I don't know any dates on this, but I think it's really important that we all have the right information, that we understand this. You know, I hear people who are excited about this and people who aren't, like, Ethiopians are coming. And I'm like, well, actually, it might not be that, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
This refugee resettlement thing, this has been a really quick learn, and there's a lot that goes into it. The last 4 years, we haven't accepted many refugees in the United States. There's been a cap on it. So that cap has been lifted since, whenever the president made that call. And he actually wants to bring in more refugees than the agencies think they can. So this is a conversation happening across the country. It's not just Wausau. And, we'll need to figure out what does that look like here. And they're not going to do it if it doesn't work for us, right? So make sure that we're all informed and we can handle this as a community.
Absolutely. And I know that I'm sure, just from your perspective as mayor too, this is something that you would be for if they can come in, make a difference in the community, and fill some of these jobs that we keep hearing about all over the place that are going to be either are going to be open or have been open for several months now.
Yeah. That's the other thing. Local businesses are looking for people that can work. So it's really important that we're able to kind of fill that talent shortage. And I know you asked me if I supported it. I feel like I have to say a million times, like, yes, I'm really excited about this. I think this is a really interesting and exciting thing. I know that it's a challenge. I talked to the former county administrators and he said, yep, this is going to be a challenge, and there are going to be people who, no matter what, are going to be against it. But it's important that we open ourselves up to the world. And if we want to grow as a community, this is one of those ways that we can grow as a community, having new families move here, wherever they're from. They can be from Minnesota, they can be from Afghanistan. We want to welcome you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if if they've got some great spicy Middle Eastern food that they want to serve us,
I'm already googling what is the popular dish here
at a downtown restaurant outside with with a spotted cow. I am all for that as well.
Noted.
Yes, indeed. Well, we appreciate the time here. Didn't get to talk about goats this time, but
goats are gone. Goats were good.
The goats were good. Did you keep one as a pet?
No.
Just the stuffed one.
Just the stuffed one. Yeah, I'm doing some cheese carving a little later today. That might be what I'm carving.
All right. We'll look for it on Twitter. All right, Mary Katie, we always appreciate the time. And again, good luck carving the cheese.
Thank you. See you later.